The final school bell rang, signaling the end of the day. Children packed their bags, chatting about what they would do once they got home. Parents checked the time, expecting their kids to walk through the front door at any moment. It was a routine, a normal part of life, until it wasn't. On February 10th, 2025, 7-year-old Kim Haneul should have been on her way home like any other day. She had just finished her after-school program and was getting ready to leave. But instead of heading toward the school gates, she was led down a hallway by someone she trusted. Inside a small, dimly lit storage room, the world outside continued as usual. No one saw what happened behind that closed door. No one heard the moment when a young girl's life was stolen. And when her family realized she hadn't come home, the search began. A desperate, frantic search that would end in an unthinkable discovery. Today, let's delve into the most recent tragedy from South Korea, the Kim Haneul case. The school day was winding down, the cool afternoon air drifting through the open hallways. The sound of children packing their bags, chatting with friends, and hurrying toward the exit filled the building. Outside, parents waited at the gates, expecting to see their children walk out any minute. By 4:30 p.m., a 7-year-old Kim Haneul left the daycare classroom, her small backpack securely strapped to her shoulders. She had spent the afternoon drawing and was excited to show her mother her latest creation. As she made her way toward the exit, a familiar voice called out to her from down the hall. "I have a book for you," said A, one of her teachers, gesturing toward the audiovisual storage room. "Come inside for a second." At 4:40 p.m., without hesitation, Haneul followed A into the storage room, a dimly lit space filled with old school supplies and equipment. The door swung shut behind them with a soft but deliberate click. Outside, students and teachers continued their routines, unaware that behind that door, something was terribly wrong. At 4:50 p.m., Haneul's parents, expecting her home by now, checked the location tracking app on their phones. Her signal still showed inside the school, unmoving. They dialed her phone, no answer. They tried again, silence. At 5:10 p.m., growing anxious, Haneul's grandmother arrived at the school, her concern turning into fear as she searched the hallways, calling her granddaughter's name. Near the audiovisual room, she spotted A, standing unnaturally still, her expression tense. "Where is Haneul?" the grandmother asked her, her voice sharp with worry. A hesitated before muttering, "I don't know." Then, in one swift motion, she locked the door behind her. At 5:30 p.m., police arrived, their footsteps heavy as they moved quickly through the school corridors. Haneul's grandmother pointed toward the locked storage room, desperation in her eyes. Officers pounded on the door, commanding it to be opened. No response. One officer stepped forward and delivered a forceful kick, and the door burst open. The room was eerily silent. Inside, Haneul lay motionless on the cold floor. Her white school blouse, once crisp and clean, was now saturated with deep red. Her small hands, once so full of life, were curled near her chest. Blood had pooled beneath her fragile body. A few feet away, A sat slumped against the wall, trembling with superficial self-inflicted wounds on her wrists and neck. At 5:50 p.m., paramedics carried Haneul out on a stretcher, their movements swift but solemn. The lead medic turned to the officers and shook his head. There was nothing they could do. Outside, the flashing lights of emergency vehicles lit up the school entrance. Sirens filled the air, but they were drowned out by the cries of Haneul's family. A little girl had gone to school that morning like any other day, but she never made it home. She lost her life at the hands of a teacher, the one person she should have been able to trust, the one who was supposed to protect her. The woman who had once been responsible for guiding young students had instead taken the life of one. Reports later revealed that A, the 48-year-old teacher, had been struggling with severe depression since 2018. In December 2024, she took medical leave because of her deteriorating mental health. The leave was supposed to last 6 months, but just 3 weeks later, she was back in the classroom, and no one questioned it. In the days that followed the tragedy, disturbing details began to surface. The warning signs had been there, obvious, repeated, and alarming. Yet nothing was done to stop what was coming. A had exhibited erratic and violent behavior before. Her colleagues noticed her unpredictable mood swings, outbursts, and disturbing actions. At one point, she twisted a coworker's arm after being questioned about her condition. The school was aware. The education office had been informed, but nothing changed. Just 5 days before the murder, A smashed school property in a fit of rage. The very next day, she physically attacked another teacher, grabbing their wrist and attempting to strangle them. The school followed protocol and reported the incident to the education office. The response was reported to the police, but no one did. Even on the morning of February 10th, the day of the murder, education officials visited the school. Yet, despite all the reports and concerns, they only spoke with the principal and vice principal. They never even spoke to A. No action was taken, no intervention was made, and hours later, a child paid the ultimate price. The police wasted no time. Investigators searched A's home, car, and classroom computer, looking for any evidence that could explain how and why this tragedy happened. Her phone and laptop were sent for forensic examination, where specialists combed through her browsing history, searching for any signs that this attack had been planned. The autopsy results only confirmed what everyone already feared: multiple, deep, precise wounds. Not a single hesitation mark, not an accident. This was intentional. On February 12, 2025, the National Forensic Service completed the autopsy on Kim Haneul, confirming what her family had feared but already knew. She had suffered multiple sharp force injuries. The official cause of death was ruled as death due to multiple inflicted wounds. She had been stabbed multiple times, and those wounds had ultimately taken her life. But there was something even more heartbreaking. The forensic team found defensive wounds on Haneul's small hands. She had tried to fight back. In those terrifying moments, she did everything she could to protect herself, to escape, to survive. Her last moments were spent fighting because she wanted to live, but she never had a chance. Criminal psychologist Pyo Chang-won reviewed A's actions and pointed out something chilling. When confronted by Haneul's grandmother, A didn't panic. She didn't break down. Instead, she lied. She told Haneul's family, "She's not here, I don't know," then locked the door behind her. That wasn't the response of someone who had lost control in a moment of madness. That was someone trying to cover their tracks, someone who knew exactly what they'd done and was trying to delay discovery. On February 12, 2025, during an interview, Pyo Chang-won made his stance clear. This was not a crime of despair. This was a calculated act. But what exactly made investigators and experts so certain that the murder was premeditated? The evidence, both physical and behavioral, pointed in one direction. First, A had unlocked the audiovisual room earlier in the day, long before the crime took place. Normally kept locked, the fact that she made sure it was accessible well in advance indicated that she had already planned to lure someone inside. Also, she deliberately waited for the last child leaving the after-school program. Surveillance footage showed A standing in the hallway, observing the children as they left, waiting until only one remained: Haneul. Additionally, the murder weapon itself. A did not simply grab an object that was nearby in the heat of the moment. Instead, she had purchased a specific type of knife from a store just 2.2 kilometers from the school, during work hours, only a few hours before the crime. Also, her words and actions after the murder further supported the theory of premeditation. When Haneul's grandmother showed up, A made no effort to call for help, no attempt to claim it was an accident. Instead, she lied and locked the door, actively trying to keep the crime hidden for as long as possible. And then came another terrifying thought. What if Haneul's grandmother had stepped inside before police arrived? Pyo Chang-won didn't hesitate. He said, there is a strong possibility that A could have attacked her as well. He said, this suspect was extremely dangerous in that moment. When asked whether depression could have been the motive, Pyo firmly rejected the idea. He said, just like how some criminals blame alcohol, family issues, or losing their job, A is using mental illness as an excuse. But the reality is, she displayed extreme aggression and violent tendencies, and that is what led to this crime. As for A's claim that she bought the knife to harm herself, Pyo dismissed it without hesitation. He said that's an excuse. The purchase of that weapon was part of the premeditated murder plan. The sheer brutality of the crime supported his conclusion. If she only wanted to kill, strangulation would have been enough. But she didn't stop. She used the weapon she had prepared, and she did it repeatedly. Everything about the crime, from the way the room was unlocked in advance to how she chose her victim to her attempts to mislead the family, pointed to one undeniable fact. This was not a random act of violence. It was a murder that had been planned. New details have surfaced about how A, despite her long history of mental health issues, was reinstated as a teacher with minimal scrutiny. According to documents, A was cleared for normal duty upon her return, despite multiple indicators that she was unfit to work with children. Her medical report submitted at the time of her reinstatement stated, symptoms have nearly disappeared, and normal work appears possible. This directly contradicted an earlier medical assessment, which advised that she required at least 6 months of treatment due to severe depression. Previously, the Daejeon Metropolitan Office of Education defended A's return by stating that she had obtained a hospital report, confirming she was capable of daily activities and no longer required treatment. However, newly disclosed records suggest that she was not only deemed fit for daily life, but also for teaching duties, despite her documented history of mental instability. A closer look at her medical history revealed that she had been under psychiatric care for 5 years, with episodes of relapse and worsening symptoms. The situation escalated in mid-2023, requiring intensive treatment by January 2024. Her condition fluctuated, but by September 2024, it had taken a sharp turn for the worse. Yet, just 3 months later, in December 2024, her doctor signed off on her reinstatement. The justification was, by early December, her remaining symptoms had significantly diminished, making normal work possible. With just 3 required documents, a handwritten reinstatement request, a school principal's evaluation, and a medical certificate, A was approved to return to work just 21 days after applying for leave. And within 6 weeks of her return, she murdered a student in her classroom. One of the most shocking revelations in this case is the failure of the Teacher Health Review Committee, the body responsible for determining whether a teacher is fit for duty. Despite A's violent outbursts and documented psychiatric history, the committee never convened to assess her case. In fact, reports indicate that the committee has only convened once since 2015, underscoring a critical lack of oversight for teachers with mental health conditions. The controversy surrounding A's reinstatement has fueled public outrage, with many questioning how someone exhibiting such erratic and violent behavior was allowed to remain in a classroom. The lack of a structured evaluation process, the failure to report her attacks, and the inability of education officials to intervene have all come under scrutiny. A's return to work was not just a bureaucratic failure, it was a series of missed opportunities to prevent a completely avoidable tragedy. Kim Haneul should still be alive. The South Korean government is introducing the Haneul Act, a law that would allow schools to place teachers on leave if they are deemed mentally unfit to work. On February 12, 2025, Deputy Prime Minister and Education Minister Lee Joo-ho announced that the government is taking action to prevent similar incidents. He stated that the law will ensure teachers who cannot safely perform their duties are removed from classrooms, which I think is common sense, right? To address public concern, Minister Lee also announced plans to strengthen school security. Schools will introduce stricter visitor controls, improve safety protocols in classrooms and after-school programs, and expand mental health support for teachers and students. As news spread, shock turned into outrage. Citizens demanded answers. How was a mentally unstable teacher allowed back into a classroom? Why was no intervention made? How could this happen? Vigils were held outside the school. Flowers, drawings, teddy bears piled up at the gates. A nation grieved, mourning a child they never knew but felt they had lost. People called for A's full identity to be released, for systemic failures to be addressed. The tragic death of 7-year-old Kim Haneul has brought to light significant concerns regarding the mental health management of educators and the safety protocols within schools. This incident has shown the absence of a systemic framework to monitor and support teachers' mental well-being, as well as the lack of legal provisions to address situations where educators may pose a risk to students. And as South Korea mourns the tragic loss of Kim Haneul, an unexpected controversy has placed additional emotional strain on her grieving family. The issue began after Haneul's father expressed a heartfelt wish for Chang Won-young, a member of the K-pop group IVE, to visit his daughter's funeral. In an interview on February 12, 2025, Haneul's father explained that it was never a demand, only a personal request. His daughter had been a devoted fan of Chang Won-young and had dreamed of becoming like her. He simply wanted his daughter to be remembered by the person she admired most, even if only in spirit. In response, IVE's agency, Starship Entertainment, sent a funeral wreath with a message of condolences and photo cards of Chang Won-young, knowing how much Haneul had cherished them. However, online reactions quickly became toxic. Some fans insisted that the singer should personally attend the funeral, while others criticized Haneul's father, accusing him of putting pressure on a celebrity during a private family tragedy. The backlash has been overwhelming for Haneul's grieving family. Hate comments have flooded online forums, with some attacking the father for making the request and others arguing that a public figure should not be forced into mourning. What started as a simple, emotional plea from a father has turned into an internet debate full of negativity, further adding to the family's pain. This situation reflects the dark side of celebrity culture and how public grief can quickly spiral into online judgment and controversy. Instead of focusing on remembering a young girl's life, the discussion has shifted to arguments and criticism overshadowing the real tragedy. The teacher A is still currently receiving treatment at a hospital due to the self-inflicted injuries she sustained after the crime. Authorities have stated that once her condition stabilizes, she will be formally interrogated and face charges. Police have already executed search warrants on her home, car, and personal devices to gather evidence. They are currently analyzing her digital activity and medical records to build their case. While there is no exact date set for questioning, officials have indicated that the interrogation will take place as soon as doctors confirm she is physically and mentally stable enough to participate. Given the severity of the case and the public scrutiny surrounding it, authorities are expected to move forward with her formal arrest and indictment in the coming days or weeks. And given the brutality of the crime and the clear signs of premeditation, I sincerely hope that she receives the maximum punishment possible. A life was taken in the most horrific way, and justice must be served to the fullest extent of the law. The days pass, but the pain remains. Haneul's classmates sit in classrooms she will never return to. Her desk stays untouched, a quiet reminder of the life that was stolen. Her mother still listens for a voice that will never call her mom again. The case will soon go to trial. The evidence is undeniable. The country watches, waiting, hoping that justice will be served. But no sentence can undo what has been done. No ruling can bring Haneul back. One truth will never change. A little girl trusted her teacher, and that trust cost her everything. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.